Christina Nech, and I am from Jonesborough, Tennessee, but currently live in Morristown.
Yeah, my name is Jean Fellers. I'm originally from this area, from Johnson City, and I've lived in Jonesborough. I've lived lots of other places, including, Connecticut, North Chicago, Florida, Texas, here, West Virginia, and North Carolina.
I started taking classes here at the McKinney Center in 2021, and I've been doing it ever since. Started when I was little, painting, drawing, coloring, and then it went to drawing and coloring on my walls when I was a little older, and my grandmother bought me my first set of polymer clay. I got introduced to it that way and really loved it, and spent the whole afternoon just making stuff, and really loved working with my hands. And I had my mama, she bought me paint stuff and all kinds of art items, and she even helped me sell some of my things on her front porch, and sold something to the mailman, 25 cents for my little painting. So
I've been making art for, my goodness, all my life, basically. I've been doing art all my life. I have a minor in art, but they wouldn't let me do what I wanted to do as a major, so I majored elsewise in literature. But I seriously got back into it in 2020 pandemic, just like a lot of people got back into the art or whatever they were doing during the pandemic, and I've transitioned from writing into art, almost all the time art. The writing has, and my knowledge of literature has greatly influenced my art. I like to put classic literature in, current texts in. I literally use book pages sometimes in my art. I use a lot of words. There's a lot of hidden words, a lot of hidden meanings in my art. So the writing I was doing, or the literature I know, has worked its way into my art quite a bit.
I had art classes all throughout elementary, middle, and high school. Miss Grog actually taught my high school class, and it was really fun taking it with her because she dove deeper into it than the normal art instructor would. And I remember doing ceramics, kiln-fired ceramics for the first time in there.
My very favorite thing is paper. Whether I have painted on the paper, torn the paper, found the paper, pulled it from old books that would otherwise go to the trash, just paper. It's my start point on a lot of my pieces.
Vibrant, bright colors, loud art, weird things, and my dad, he painted cars and airplanes and boats when I was younger, still does, and so I learned some painting techniques through him, and a lot of my airbrushing, that's where it comes from, is from what my dad showed me when I was little.
Some of my earliest memories are being snuggled up against my mom in bed during the summer. She was a teacher, and up above us was a Renoir of a mother and child. So it's some of that, and I pull in the Impressionists, Mary Cassatt especially, because I just love the Impressionist colors and how they focus on one portion and then run with that. Art Nouveau. I really love the way they use the vines and the greenery and things like that. I know it was a lot more architectural and advertisement, but I absolutely love the medium and how they use it. And more modern ones, I would say Elizabeth St. Hilaire, who is a paper and paint artist. She does a lot of collage. And my other one is the artist Rafi Perez, who's a multimedia artist. He does everything from books to music to, I think his wife is a jeweler, and they have a huge online presence. And I recently got to obtain one of their original pieces of art. So I'm happy as a clam. I'm in their artist community, their online artist community called the Rogue Artist Community. From
childhood, it was always Van Gogh and Monet and Salvador Dali and Edvard Munch and people like that. Recently, I've really been digging the Neo-Appalachian art, our Brian Surway and Jessica Rue and Brett Manning and people like that.
I was a parent of 3, raised 3 children, went back to school when my youngest, who's now 25, was 6 months old. I got my bachelor's in English with the art minor, and I went to get a master's. I got my teaching certification. I taught everywhere from 6 years old up to 70 plus years old, and English and writing and literature and things like that. All the time I would always do little bits of art and pieces and things like that, kept a little art journal and things like that through the years. But in 2015, I had some autoimmune conditions and I had a misprescribed medication. Turned my world upside down. I had to quit teaching. Left me with some neurological issues, and it's worked into the autoimmune issue. So I have some problems like that. But the art allows me to still do that creative thing and work with words and work with paint and even as I've quit writing because my medications mess with my attention span. So plotting a book is now impossible for me. But I can sit and work on a painting and come back to it and come back to it and come back to it without having to remember what I did before, because it's right there. So it's just a change in creative methods.
Really just depends. My work schedule is so sporadic that I don't really have a set time, but I find myself working most of the time at night. Even when I was, my teenage years, I would be up way past my bedtime, doing coloring things on the wall or, on paper. I have artists in the form of, my grandfather who he hunts and has taught me about living off the land, and I have my father and my mother who's taught me business, the art of business. My papa has taught me the art of fixing things and using my hands to get it done. And I'm usually the only one in my family that has any type of art, and they're just tickled pink. So.
Oh, my parents were always, we go and do things, we got exposure. I grew up, my mother was a librarian, so guess where I spent my summers? In the elementary school library, being the only kid there, and I could have access to anything in the library I wanted during the summer. So I got a lot of exposure to just all kinds of things that way, from the artworks to the science specimens to just everything that the library had to offer. And my sister's a playwright and a historian, so I think it was quite a lot of fostering in there. I think my parents' only worry with me is if I was going to focus on art, it's like, how are you going to make a living out? And that's a very common parent reaction. So, and that partially influenced why, and I don't blame them, partially influenced why I chose to do the things that I've done in the order that I've done them, because I had family to take care of. So you got to make a living, and it's much harder to start off as an artist.
Not traditionally taught at all. All of my ceramics education comes from here, or I've learned online, bought books, just really any way that I can learn more about it. I've tried to do it that way. I've taken seminars online, looked up a whole bunch of information, PDFs, you name it, I've probably tried to find it. They give you the basics, and then you take it from there. And it's amazing to see what some of my other classmates were able to come up with, and even people not in my class, people are prior to what they have on their shelf, and get inspiration from that.
If you draw something, paint something, doodle something, you're an artist. And find what you like and just work with it, develop your skills, but don't be afraid to work in other areas. You may find something you love best and go down that road, but you may 2 years later suddenly switch gears. That's just part of the creative process and creative growth. Don't be intimidated by it. Lean into it.
So I took a lot of pull from my childhood. Each thing has something that is kind of attached to me in a way, whether it is something that I would like to talk about or not is in my art piece. So I do get a little nervous sometimes, I doubt myself some, because I'm not traditionally trained. I didn't go to art school, but I haven't let that stop me, and I don't think I will ever let that stop me. I don't think a degree makes an artist, so I think as long as you've got the vision and the drive and the willpower, I think anybody can do it. Don't let it stop you.
One of them is the forest and parts. Forest and parts, it lives in our kitchen. And it's a beautiful part, and it's all the pieces, all the layers, the jelly print images that are on it are taken from things on our property. My other favorite piece is Madonna, the Chaos Garden. And if you understand what a Chaos Garden is, a Chaos Garden is where basically you plow the land up or and just throw your seed down and see what happens. And that's just a representation of the Chaos Garden has grown up. It's midsummer, everything's going wild, and here she is in the middle of it just being consumed. And it represents several different things. It represents, well, we just let nature do its thing. It's all going to turn out okay. It also represents the how we can get lost in what we're doing or let things consume us. And that's why there's all this wordage around all these things. Maybe she made all these plans with these seeds and all these things, and it's done its own thing. Like it says on there, fresh picked chaos. So
I think everything around us here in this historic part of Jonesborough, it adds a little bit of flair to each artist in Jonesborough. We all have something different going on here. It really does add a little bit of character to us.
I don't follow rules. I do what I like. I do it the way I like. If it doesn't turn out the way I like, well, I'll do it over. And I'll just keep doing it. That's one of the ways I get layers in there, because I didn't like it. I will do something over top of it and just build, and it builds and it builds. And sometimes I will have 6, 8, 10 layers of stuff, of paper, then paint, then other paper, and it just layers and it builds till it actually helps with the texture of the piece, until it's the way I want it. Paperandsmokestudios.com. It has both mine and my studio partners work on it. We do different events around the area, so we're always somewhere or coming up somewhere, and we'll usually have it on the website, where we're going to be next, or where we've been.
It's from July 19th until August 19th, and the opening reception is July 19th from 5 to 7.
Most everything is for sale except what I've been forbidden from selling.